everyone, stop 3 of the FLW Pro Circuit event on Lake Martin just wrapped up, so you know what that means. It's recap time. This was actually a really fun event to fish. Now, it may not have looked that way if you looked at where I finished in the standings, but it didn't feel like a struggle at any point. I fished Kalijah Arm, so there's a clear arm of the lake, and then the whole other arm that goes towards the ramp tends to be much muddier. I decided to fish around the clear water. That's where most of the blueback herring live, and therefore most of the big spotted bass tend to live in that area. During practice, I caught several big spots, including this one here. It went just under 4 pounds. I had a lot of fun. I moved around, I was fishing different depth levels, and I was doing different baits and different techniques, and basically catching better than average spots anywhere I went. Largemouth bass, on the other hand, they were a little harder to find, but if you got on to where they were, that ultimately ended up being a technique that won the event. During practice, I actually found a pretty neat pattern that involved culverts. While they were drawing the lake down slowly to get back to seasonal water level, I found 2 specific culverts that had an area of water behind them, then a causeway, and about a 6-foot diameter culvert. And the bass were actually inside the culverts or right out in front of the culverts as the water is moving through. So on day 1, I decided to start there. I didn't really expect to catch a big fish on it, although I did know I was in largemouth territory. That means I could have caught a big largemouth. What was great is I caught 5 fish in about 7 casts here. So first thing in the morning, I had a limit on day 1. That's a good feeling. Then my plan was to run for spotted bass and try to upgrade with some 3 to 3.5 pound spotted bass like I was catching during practice. So I ended up targeting spotted bass for most of the event, and like I said, I used a variety of techniques from top water to dragging the bottom with a Ned style bait, but what ultimately ended up being my favorite and go-to technique for the entire event was this 3-inch Lunker Hunt finesse swim bait. I found I could cover water really well with it. They would absolutely annihilate this thing. I was throwing it on a 7.6 Tatula Elite light medium spinning rod. This is actually the Seth Feider hair jig / Nico rod that he designed. So it's a 7.6. You can cast it a mile is why I decided to use this. I'm only using an 1/8 ounce darter head on that. Alright, so that's really light, and you need that longer, kind of softer tip on a rod to really cover the distance that you need. This is 10-pound test J-braid by Daiwa braided line to a 6-pound Sunline fluorocarbon leader. Okay, now some people think I'm crazy for using 6-pound, especially for a moving bait like this. If you have the drag on this is a ballistic 2500 series ballistic Daiwa reel. If you have the drag set right, you're not going to break them off. What I actually did was I'd have the drag a little tighter while I was fishing, and as soon as I'd load into that fish and I could feel it was a good fish right away, then once he started fighting and pulling, I would dial back the drag a couple clicks as I was fighting him and just let him run. I didn't break off a single fish. So what I'm going to show you here, instead of going through every fish catch, because I lost count of how many fish I caught in this event. The struggle was to get the big ones. I'm going to show you a montage here of all the hook sets I had. Once I'd worked an area with the Lunkerhunt finesse swim bait, I would actually turn around and I would work the bottom with the Woo Tungsten Ned head there, rigged with the Lunkerhunt finesse worm. I found that especially during the tournament, that not as many fish wanted to come up and crush the swim bait. In practice, every one of them that saw it would eat it. They were staying on the bottom a little bit more. So I found if you would do a second pass, you'd often catch more fish in the exact same area that didn't want to come up and hit a swim bait, but they would hit that tungsten Ned head dragged on the bottom. So that ended up being a real player for me as well. Caught me some key fish that really helped out. Still had a lot of fun. I know I didn't finish where I wanted to finish in the standings, but it was a fun week. The weather was fantastic. Southern hospitality is a real thing down there. I really enjoy my time. I'm really looking forward to the next event. We're not too sure where or when that is right now, as there's some stuff going on in the world. You probably know about it, but thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next recap, as hopefully it's coming sooner than later. Thanks, guys.